welcome. Now that's how you do it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally.
The wind exchange.
Yeah. Here we are once again.
Yeah, I didn't debut the hit that I took, but that's okay. You guys
We'll
will
get
see
more.
me hit it.
Yeah, we'll get more. It's our new ritual of some coffee and dabs.
Yeah, it's definitely turned into one of my favorite combos.
Yeah. Well, also tabs and dabs.
And I was just going to say, and tabs and dabs feels like a whole...
Yee.
It's like I got to make merch for that or something.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
such a thing.
That's what I'm designing tabs or drops. I'm like, there needs to be stickers on our bottles. I need to design a sticker on, not that they're just personal use, but I'm like, I want to have a personal use sticker.
Well, and we've had really special dabs called LSD, and that's what we were doing yesterday while we were on LSD, which is just lemon sour diesel, but it's incredibly special. And
Yeah.
I guess maybe placebo-wise, we ascribed more psychedelia to it as a strain, but it does sort
we
of
were
feel
also
like
on
that.
LSD. The real
Yeah, but you've said that before we took LSD when we smoked those dabs. You've been like, this feels like acid.
Oh, the first
This
time
feels like
the first time we hit those dabs, which is last weekend, I was like, whatever one that one is I'm twisted right now. And you're like, it's called LSD, and I was like, they named that one appropriately.
I love it. I haven't loved a strain so much that I've been protective over it for a long time.
I know.
But I had that, and I was like,
Yeah, we were crackheads last night. We're down to our last couple crumbles.
the other combo that I've kind of fallen in love with is a little espresso.
Yeah.
During the 3/4 way of my acid trip.
Yeah.
It's really smooths out the end to be really nice for me.
I want to caveat that by saying we were playing music all day. And I think if we were just in the general...
Yeah, I probably would have had
nothing
a
going on, you would have had a fucking heart attack. You
no,
would
but I
have been
have
like,
to keep
why
up with
did
all
I
these
just do that?
boys. They're like, oh, we're going to sing for hour 8 now, Mare. Are you
know.
ready? And I'm like, okay.
I bet you if you asked all of us, we'd be like, we're just honoring Mare and trying to just wrap some music around her voice. You know? But it was good. I think, man, Cass was on one yesterday. She looked great. You know, like you can, like sometimes Cass like will take it and she just like takes on a whole different, like she looks like a fucking Powerpuff Girl. You looked like a Powerpuff Girl too.
She, yeah, we're Powerpuff Girls. It feels like she becomes herself. It feels like all of these layers of resistance fall down and she can just like have fun and not be stuck in fear with like performance stuff, you know, sing her rip on the harmonica. Are you kidding me? It's going to be the opener to my album now.
Yeah.
It was a real confidence boost for me because it's all in key. Because that's usually my problem is like where you play instruments and there's all these keys and you can play them wrong, and you sing
That's
and
my
you can
problem.
not hit the right key. You blow on a harmonica, and as long as you like kind of chill it out a little bit, it's gonna sound great.
Yeah, yeah. There's people that take that instrument to the next dimension, but for the most part, I think it's one of those instruments that makes you seem like you're a better musician than you are.
Yeah,
you know.
I kind of only like the way that harmonica plays Cass. I'm not even going to rewrap that. The way the harmonica plays Cass is my favorite way the harmonica plays.
Oh, it is.
Because people that you think take it to the next. I can't stand people that rip on the harmonica. It's one of those things. It's like jazz flute. I'm sorry. I have fallen deep love with jazz flute, by the way. I've transcended this hate that I once had in my life.
Yeah.
I haven't with harmonica. Please stop playing it like that.
Oh my God, I love it.
Well, who do
we
you
came
think
across some guy the other fucking.
He'll be in our Wooks movie. There's this guy
ripping on the
ripping.
I was like, I've never been so drawn to someone in my life.
Yeah,
it's so emotional.
Who first comes to mind when you think of harmonica?
I don't know. Like, doesn't Bob Dylan play the harmonica?
That's
sometimes?
what I think of too. I think Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, Neil Young.
Yeah, Neil Young I was going to say that too.
You know, and then, but like the sickest fucking harmonica player is John Popper from Blues Traveler.
Oh yeah, well that
Like,
song is harmonica.
And he wears like a hunting vest filled with harmonicas in like every key. So he's just like pulling them out and fucking doing his thing. And he was like, back in the day, he was like 400 pounds.
Yeah.
On tour.
Yeah.
And all he's doing is like that. He does the most crazy harmonica shit you've ever fucking heard.
Yeah.
God damn.
I think it's
that's what it
underused
was.
though, because we keep hearing it on songs with you singing, and it kind of just like duetting with a harmonica. I was like, this is awesome.
It is, because remember, like last night, I almost rolled my eyes about it, but everyone was so mesmerized by the harmonica. Like it was like the instrument. We have every instrument and everything sounds perfect, but for some reason the harmonica into like extra reverb. We're like, we need that. We need that part of this song.
Well,
Yeah.
and because Shane was good because he's
Shout
like,
out to Shane, my man.
he's like, well, the harmonica's in key A, so we need to be mindful of what we're playing to support that. So
Yeah.
that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys sounded amazing. It was awesome.
Yeah, we had a great day. We me and you took like 5 to 7 acid microdoses, which is probably just a regular dose.
I'm in love with it.
It's
Maybe
so
it's been a
good.
minute, but I'm like, damn. Like, yeah, maybe it is like me feeling like myself, like, especially in that orbit of like, oh, I have a lot of performance anxiety, or because I'm not a musician, it feels like, well, I would never want to take up space. And like a lot of playing music is like, being confident enough to hold the space. And that's like a lot of pressure, especially when you care about the vibe. You're like, oh, I care about the vibe and I would not make this better.
You know what I have to do to even function in there? And I think this could help you because you're in the same position.
Yeah.
Just look at that room of people and just be like, I've listened to way more music than all these people. I have thought about and appreciated just because of my years here and what I've focused on. And I would say the same thing about you. Like, you know what sounds good. So just do what sounds good to you.
I wish I could sing good, because I sing and I'm like, wow, that's just the worst sound I've ever heard. It's like
that's what I thought yesterday. I sang a song yesterday and I was like, fuck, man. I've been under a delusion that I could sing. And when push came to shove, I was like, I told you, as soon as I finished, I sang Althea by Grateful Dead. And Shane ripped it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I sound like shit. I knew that I was like an octave or something off, and I just couldn't make my voice do the thing. It was my first time trying to sing in the day. Later on in the day, I got a couple things. I was like, that sounded pretty good. But
Yeah, it's the one instrument where warming up is non-negotiable.
it really is.
And like I remember Cass one time being like to me, like, don't you just want to be able to like not warm up and sing? It's like, yeah, that'd be great in a perfect world where I had an instrument that had stagnant keys. But like, I am having a cell structure that's affected by everything: the hormones, the people I'm around, my mood, what I put in my body that day, how much water I had, mainly how much water I had, how much weed am I smoking, how hot did I smoke the weed?
All
of
did
these
you
things.
eat? You
What
couldn't
did I
eat dinner
eat
with
today?
us. We had our dinner was a little spicy. You wouldn't have been able to
And
sing.
honestly,
afterwards.
I would have been a better singer with more acid, but that's why I didn't take as much as you guys, as I knew I had to improv, melodies and lyrics for like hours and hours. And I was like, I just want to make sure I can hold this ship together.
As soon as we pulled in, you said, I'm hungry. And what did I say?
You haven't had enough acid yet.
And that's all you need.
But I did okay on the 2 drops. I mean, it felt strong to me.
You know what it is? I realized as I was singing, your vocal cords are like a guitar. You know what I mean? And like I was just plowing through a song that was completely out of tune. Like I just need to tune those strings.
Beyond like just warming up before. That's why, practicing singing, because you're just out in chaotic space. It's amazing that humans are even able to like form the notes, and of course we kind of have the notes because those are the notes I think you form when you're high frequency and you place your voice in a place that's not forcing. It's like interesting. I think there's a natural relationship between those frequencies. Can
we just give a quick blueprint of what the most perfect day with a group of friends can be and feel like, and how to do it? Because I feel like we did it yesterday.
Yeah.
If you have access to some acid and some instruments and people with a good vibe, you don't want to have too many people. We had probably 6 or 7, 8 people there yesterday. A nice warm place, especially when it's cold outside. A meal. Cass made us a meal to have in our back pocket.
Yeah.
Fucking the most amazing day we could possibly have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about good containers. Life is just all about like, okay, setting a good container for whatever the moment is. And you got to take care of some basic things.
I was breathing it in yesterday because like I've been having these moments a lot more lately where I'm like, yo, this is good. Get while the getting's good. Be very aware of this, because what I can ruin it with is my little creature comfort complaints like, I need a little more of this, or I should do this. Let me distract myself a little more. And instead of doing that, just like, yo, breathe it in, man. You're tripping. You're with your friends. We're all fucking playing music. The music sounds so good. Forrest records everything we're doing. We're just playing live in a room, but the recordings sound like we're in a fucking studio. So, yeah.
Especially this time of year, I feel like
It's a studio. He's in the
Yeah.
title studio.
Yeah.
It's a studio. We
Yeah.
record. It sounded literally radio ready, his mix.
Oh,
so, yeah.
totally really good live mix. No, this time of year is like I was kind of dreading it, but now that it's here, I'm like, damn, I love it. Like, because when it's nice out, I'm like, all I'm thinking about is like, okay, how can I go spend some time outside? Or if I'm not outside, what am I doing? I should be outside. Now that it's like, all right, you're inside, make the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it because I'm like, okay, now I'm drawing more, I'm doodling, we're coming up with things to do inside with our friends, and it's not the worst. You gotta compensate for the.
That's what I'm.
And because you're
about to say.
compensating, it's good.
We're mindful of like, oh, it's getting fucking dark and cold, and the summer just provides the vibe is for you. It's already set. Like you just step outside and you're like, oh, I'm swimming in beautiful air right now. It's a little harsher out there now, so you gotta be a little better to yourself, and it's so easy to just hibernate, you know. But forcing ourselves once a week to just have the best time ever with our friends and go play instruments. God damn, we came up with some bangers yesterday.
Yeah, music is definitely the answer. Moving your body is definitely the answer.
Oh, yeah.
You know, whether you're a musician at that event or just somebody that comes to shake their booty, all are appreciated and support the vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best. And maybe that's not your thing and you need to get Frisbees together or whatever it is that you want to do in a playful fashion that
really
gets some
nice.
energy moving, you know?
Yeah. Well, when we do these days and there's more than just like, the musicians there, everyone is either dancing or doing some flow thing, or like Cass is like drawing or making food or something. So.
Oh, yeah. And everybody's a musician and it's always fun to get everybody involved. And get yourself out of that, like, oh, you're a musician and I'm not a musician, because like music theory is obviously like so great. Yes. Thank you. But like, there was a time of music before, the white men of Europe came along.
Yeah. and started masculine energy.
Yeah. And music was always a communal thing where everybody, well, I shouldn't, not for every culture, but I think a lot of people grew up where it was like your mom and everybody was participating in the song, and there wasn't so much of this like you're qualified to participate in the vibe.
Some people are musically challenged though. Like keeping a beat for me is honestly like my mom has made fun of me since I was a kid. She's like everyone like I'd be in these gymnastics things and I'm like 2 beats behind, and it's like I don't know if I've always had this.
You're just in your head.
Yeah,
because you do have
some
rhythm.
People are more in their heads, and some people. So the harmonica, if you can't keep a beat, pick up a harmonica. Man.
Definitely. Yeah, because that's the thing I was trying to say about voice, because like you're just in chaos with your voice. Like it's kind of like a violin, but like even more so like you're just punching in the dark with notes. The fact that they come together is kind of a miracle.
I always think that about like for me it's really hard to, when you first start a song, like wherever I land with that first thing that comes out, which I don't know what it's going to sound like till I sing it.
That's why you got to do it so much.
Being on stage is a fucking crazy thing. Like when you go to sing that first note, whatever you commit to, that's what you're doing. You don't hear a lot of people like, excuse me, I started that in the wrong key. I got to, oh yeah, that's where it is. Like, wow, that's intimidating.
Jeff did that once on one performance he did. He like hit the wrong key or something. Yeah, no, voice is crazy. But what I was trying to say with like, it's interesting that when you place your voice in a good place, naturally it kind of attunes to the frequencies that we've qualified, with the 8 notes. And I think rhythm is the same thing. Like there's rhythm everywhere to tap into. The fact that you're bad at rhythm is almost like it's a confusing statement, because you're on your own rhythm. You're doing a beat. You're definitely rocking it,
I marched my own beat.
You marched your own beat, and you probably make really interesting music because your deviation, of not tuning into other people's beats. You know what I mean? But all music is holding your beat and feeling confident in it. Mm-hmm. It's only wrong if you start to think it's wrong. If you believe in it.
Well, that's my problem. It's like throwing a frisbee. I'm like, this is wrong. I'm gonna fuck this up. I'm about to hit someone in the head, and ultimately.
But you killed the harmonica. Anyways, everybody can definitely.
And I've said it before, but like you do hand jobs and blow jobs. Like you have it.
You have
it.
Christ.
No, but I'm saying like. That's when she's like fully letting go. Like it's just like she's not.
Because it's not about her. It doesn't feel like as much.
Exactly.
Also, you guys, I don't think you realize that varietying the beat in that can also help reach a climax. It's almost
variation,
yeah.
inconsistency.
Yeah. 'Cause I've watched how people jerk off.
Holding a beat is hard though. Like I think of myself as having great rhythm as a person, but I got on the drum kit last night
And
you're
killed
like,
it.
Well,
Am
I?
Does something,
Do I have good rhythm?
Does something happen to everyone where they get behind a drum kit and they get immediately in their head, and that's the first? It's like that's the first boss you have to fucking defeat. Is like, oh fuck, I'm in my head and I'm the loudest instrument right now. Everyone's playing along to me. Like I can't do it.
It's a really fun meditation. I will say, trying to keep a consistent beat. Like I can get into why you'd like being a drummer, because there's parts of my personality that want to be so inconsistent that I can feel oppressed by drumming. I'm like, oh, I gotta be supportive of everyone and just like stay on the same thing, and I really just like want to go everywhere. But I also kind of got into last night, I was like, I'm just gonna like turn into this nothing thing, and that was really fun, just like focus on keeping the same thing.
It definitely supported a good vibe of like what other people
it
were
also
bringing to the
created a
table.
new one. When Mare jumped on drums, the music changed drastically. It's crazy, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's important to be bad at stuff in front of people, so I try and make that part of my life consistent.
I think that's a huge little asterisk on this whole like have the best day ever. Don't assume like, oh, we're gonna make the best, most brilliant. We're gonna write an album, this and that. Don't have any attachment to anything. I think that's why we have such a good time. We put people on instruments that they don't even know how to play. You know, I'm on guitar. I literally just I kind of know what the chords are.
Yeah, but that's
you know?
because you're playing with people that do know what they're doing too. There's always got to be a combination.
And I was going to say that
Everyone
about
can't
music
be on
theory.
their non-first instrument.
I was like, yeah, the only thing that made my harmonica sound good was like Shane's licks. I was like, wow.
If one or two people in the room know music theory, the whole band is going to be.
It's so
the
rad.
whole band knows it.
It's so rad
because you know kind of where to keep it.
Totally, because your ears know it. That's the thing. Like music theory is just the description of what your body knows. Like it's just like all science. They were just trying to study what we know already. Why is this working? Why is this happening?
It's the religion to spirituality.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
It's the same thing. It's like this very ethereal thing that we're like, how do we begin to put some symbols and language around this so we can decode something that's very mysterious.
But when you break it down, like when one of my great composing teachers just took me on the piano by ear and was like, it's not complicated. Hear this note. Where does it want to go? You hear it. Like, not everybody has more trained ears or less trained ears, but like everybody generally, like you hear a note and you hear it wants to resolve up or wants to go down or it like feels like you settled home. Like you enjoy music because you can discern through all of those feelings and you know they're good musicians take you to certain places you like. It's
a hero's journey. Every piece of music, you establish what home is, then you leave home, and then you want to return home.
Exactly.
And you come back a changed person from what you've been through. And like all the Grateful Dead do, because they do the same thing.
Yeah.
They just make that journey way longer and trippier, and it falls apart and comes back together. That way when you come home, you're like, where the fuck was I just now? You know?
Yeah, and you can go further and take yourself to crazier places, obviously, when you know those rules and how to break them. But everybody has that natural stuff in their ear. And I love, like, it's so fun getting to hear people's own beat and rhythm.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun listening to highly trained classical musicians, too. But everybody has something to offer.
To me, this is the most fun stage to play with musicians because, like, none of us have really played in or been in a band before. We've just done these kind of things. And you can almost look at someone and know what kind of music, if they're leading the way, what it's going to feel like and sound like. For some reason, before Shane ever played guitar for us, I could have told you he was, like, surfy, dreamy, you know.
Yeah.
I could have told you, and, like, you could probably look at me and be like, yeah, he fucking gets into some heavy Krishna. You know, that's all I know how to do. Just
I feel like my shit turns into ballads a lot, though, but I don't know.
Yeah, but that's you. You're a sweetie. You're a sweetie.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like I have a fun party side that I get into, and then I have
Totally.
a heavier side. I feel like there's like 3 solid versions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Places I
There's a lot
even
more than
sit
that.
in my voice. Yeah, there's a lot of different.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I tried, like, really kind of just making stuff up while we were playing. Really, I just dabbled with that the last couple times we did this, and that's really, you have to get into a flow, or it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know?
It's why if I can speak highly of myself for 1 second, it is why I think I'm fun to play with. Is I feel like I have so many vibes because my personality's always been like, so I don't like, who the fuck am I? That like I change so much with the different ingredients of the band members that we bring in. And it's so fun even for me to see who I'm going to turn into that day, just with a different band member, because I know entirely different part of my personality is going to come out.
Yeah.
And I've grown to really love that mutable side of myself of like, who knows what I'm going to sound like or who I'm going to sound like today.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, the range.
It's so fun, and different people bring out different sides of me in different writing, and like it's fun.
Yeah,
for
you were
me.
duetting last night.
Oh my god, it's so
good.
so fun to
Jesus
duet.
Christ.
I was trying to get Sean to do it with me, but he was being shy. Got him too high or something.
No, I was having a little bit of allergies. So like I feel like my voice needs to like be able to flow through my nose too, like to sound the way I want it to sound, and it was just stopping right there.
Yeah.
And so I could do some stuff, but I was like, I'm not as shy. I'm not really feeling that shy right now. I just feel like I don't sound that good, and everyone else.
Yeah, you were
sounds
kind of
good.
defeated by your first round or whatever.
Yeah, that was rough. That was rough. Singing an entire version of Althea that I just sounded slightly off key. But I mean, how many times did Jerry sing it like that?
A lot. A lot. We loved it.
Oh,
yeah. Voices are so interesting, and I love watching people's vocal journeys. I can't wait to hear Connor sing again. I know you guys got to hear him sing recently, and it's been a long time since I heard him sing. And, I love hearing like Daniel sing, the other drummer that we work with.
He's got such a beautiful
great voice.
Oh my god,
he's such an amazing singer.
Like he's like, his voice is for like when we get a little more serious about our shit. I'm like, you actually could legitimately do this. You two singing together would be really beautiful.
Yeah, he's got that real Lion King voice.
I think this is like
R&B superstar.
You guys have super inspired me to be like, okay, maybe I don't think of myself as a singer, but it's a worthwhile pursuit in this life to find your voice in a way that can like feel in tune. So Sean is so patient with me, and he'll play songs, and I'll like try to do the ones that are like a little more solid, or more like, you know, not like too high or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like really fun because I'm like, okay, this has been a dream of mine to find my voice, and maybe my dream doesn't have to be Mariah Carey, but my dream could at least be like, let me sing a song that someone might else enjoy hearing, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Communicate something, especially since there's so many songs that already have the most amazing lyrics. It's not like I can pull and like the covers you guys were doing last night. We're making these songs, like taking them to a whole new different dimension. And I'm like, that version, it like deserves to exist. And that's why even on the Discord, I like want to encourage people to do covers. And maybe we need to lead the way with being bold and vulnerable enough to share our own. But I'm like, I want to hear people's covers. Like I remember AJ playing some stuff. I mean, people do originals like David Dombrowski and all this stuff, and I'm like, damn, I want to hear everybody.
Daniel Dombrowski.
What did I say?
David.
No, I didn't.
I don't know. I didn't hear.
I thought I said in my head I said Daniel.
Yeah, like making stuff that you think people would enjoy, but also just getting yourself to expression with moving air through your water vessel in a way that you believe in as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like expressing yourself in a way that you're like, I stand by this.
It'll make you better at this.
Like, yeah, well, it's all the same. It's just it's moving air. You know, it's moving the air energy.
Totally.
I used to, when I would do like sales calls for commercials, they're really hard to get. It's like even getting to the part where they're like
on the phone with you.
Yeah. It's like winning the lottery.
Right.
And then to get the job from there.
You have to do like a pitch,
Yeah, you have to get on there and pitch.
I've never done anything like this. It's such an interesting part of y'all's life that like is kind of
pitching.
I mean, I've auditioned, so it's like
it's similar,
but different.
It's similar, but like in audition, like I don't.
I'm in a leotard. I got a number on me.
You have a number on you.
That's scary as hell.
I gotta look at myself in tights in the mirror.
But like,
am I gonna make it?
Yeah, and you're part of. There's so many people auditioning, and I'm the one that's like doing the auditions. I'm like, okay, next, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I assume you go in there with the mindset of like, the chances that I get this are very slim. When I'm up for a job, I'm like, I have a 1 in 3 chance of getting this. I already like won the lottery that we're even bidding this job. But you get on, and I was so bad at these calls when I first started out. I was because I would have a list of things I would want to say, and I wouldn't leave any space for them to ask questions or say anything else, or it was a fucking mess. And I had to, what made me better, and I hate doing this, as I listened back to some of the calls, because we have every single sales call I've ever done recorded, and you listen back to some of them, and you're like, damn, I fucking could have done way better at that. And I got better at them by just getting into flow. And like
Yeah.
it kind of feels like probably how a comedian feels like when their jokes are hitting, where you can just fall back and just be like, they're gonna love some way or another. This next thing I have to say is gonna come out, but it's gonna come out naturally, and they're gonna love it. And we started getting like 90% of the jobs we were up for when I got good at that thing, which is the first impression, which is like, I don't know. It's like hitting that note right from the outset, because if they sense that you're like nervous on this call, you're going to be nervous throughout the whole process, because once you get hired for the job, you then have to be that person for the whole thing. And they've been working on this campaign behind the scenes for like a year. All of a sudden, this random dude they hired is like the face of it. And I'm doing like, once I get the job, I'm doing pre-pro meetings and fucking pitch meetings to like boardrooms of 50 people.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there stoned as a fucking juggalo doing my thing.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing. When I stopped taking it so seriously, I stopped taking myself so
Yeah.
seriously, and stopped having like, here's the list of things I need to get across. Like,
Yeah.
I would just get on the calls, and like that's when I started doing the calls more with Cass. That helps
Yeah,
too. It's like I got my
definitely,
girl on there,
Cass,
and I'm looking at her, and I know that if I miss something for some reason,
She'll get it.
she'll get it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing being in a band.
Yeah.
It's the same
No,
thing.
life just keeps reminding me in my artistry, like flow is everything.
Yeah.
And the less I control and the more I let go, like the more things flow, especially with like, writing, improvising, writing and melodies and stuff. Like every time we have one of these jam sessions, I'm like, why didn't I play music all week for like I didn't do anything for 2 weeks. I haven't written anything. I have nothing in my notes to share, but it's the less prepared I am, the better I am always.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like, and the more, even with like in the moment writing, I'm just focusing on like a general mood. Words and stuff will just flow out, just like a general good vibe. If I'm focusing on like, it has to sound like,
exactly.
it has to sound like
Yeah.
this. It's like it all of these barriers of resistance come up, and then it feels so hard to form an idea and sentences and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Because it becomes about all of these like tiny things, instead of just like everything I do is going to be good if I'm like in this good vibe that people want to resonate with. And of course, like just like the podcast, I've had to separate this barrier of like, there's always things to sing about. What are we talking about? Like, how
Yeah.
could I go blank? Like I have a trillion million things to say all of the time, and I would love to sing them in a way that feels more emotional. And there's always things to tap into, even if my mind feels blank, because I'm like, I'm like some perfect life and some perfect relationship. Like people in the room have shit for me to tap into. It's like there's always a well for you to write from and stuff. And it's so funny that I've lived until this moment in my life feeling like I could actually have periods where like there isn't anything to talk about or get into, or
pop into someone else's consciousness. We talked about on the last podcast, Bruce Springsteen wrote all of his songs that we all love from his dad's perspective. He never had those jobs.
Yeah.
He never did those things.
Yeah.
He wasn't a working class guy.
Yeah.
He was a fucking little artist boy.
Yeah,
He's
but
a
he
theater
felt
kid.
it, and he's sensitive, so he can tap into it.
Exactly. So he's like, I feel what this motherfucker's going through. My old man, he's depressed, and he's fucking dragged down by the fucking machinery of this country.
Yeah.
And I can write hit album after hit album if I just assume that, because he's just a privileged rich guy who's fucking living the dream and getting rich off of his art. You start to get real distance from who you are.
But kind of like embodying, I think he embodies like strength with like above that struggle, and that's like the vibe that he is able to tap into. I think that people resonate with his music. So it doesn't matter necessarily what he writes about, as long as he's like pushing through the whatever. That's like his vibe of all of his songs. And
I had a moment last night that I was like a little haunted by all the times that I've been in my head and like stopped the flow of conversation with like a thought. And like as I've become more of a mindful person, where I don't just like blurt out the first thought I'm having, I see what it leaves room for, and what ends up happening or being expressed without those like, what is this? I'm honoring my thought in this moment, and not saying like of like squashing your inner stuff, but like not. It's like there's a filter to it in a way that's not like overly precious or overly self-critical, but a more like kind of like Nelson Mandela used to say this, like he speaks slowly because he's thinking about what he's going to say before he says it, making sure that he's saying something that's like in alignment and true. And
and it's not a thought thing. It's not like, I need to come up with the thought. It's like I need to just tap into who I am. Like we've listened to some Ram Dass recordings where like he's in a Q&A and they'll ask him a question and he'll just like pause for like 30 seconds and then go on a 15-minute rant.
Yeah.
There's no way he came up with all the script for that 15 minutes and 30 seconds.
That's what I was just going to say. I feel like this becomes easier when you start letting in the idea that like you don't actually create anything. You're just tapping into like whatever language, these bigger gods that are creating these things, or like the multiverse wanting to create this art and it's just using you.
You're just a fisherman.
Yeah, because I feel like when you start identifying as the creator is when it gets complicated, because then your ego's attached to all of the reception of it and what it means for it to be coming from you, and all that stuff about like trying to retain coolness through performance, and so avoiding doing it entirely.
We're channels, really.
That's like, yeah.
And it's all out there.
For
like,
real.
you could be the Beatles. You are Bob Dylan.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like,
they were open to some stuff.
Yeah.
But they were not, like, controlling it and manhandling it. The muses are real. Like, there's a reason why we all talk about them.
Yeah.
You know? They're real and they're bigger than us. And
not
we're
enough
really
people
just here
do
to
talk
serve
about
them.
I don't think a lot of people do talk about them.
I love that you did that, like, little following muse art last night. Because that's, like, what my whole consciousness seems to be thinking about right now. It's like, God, I sure am better if I just let go.
And but like, I think we said like follow the muse a lot, but I like it as your muse because it's like very personal.
Definitely.
It's like
what inspires you and gets
what's
you fire.
inspiring
It changes in the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It might be, you might walk into a room and be like, man, that dog. Like, like how Mowgli lights me up, or Magic like lights me up, and I'm like, oh man, I needed that. Like, that's my muse to be cool in this moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's few and far between to find things that excite you in this life, and you gotta really like follow them and follow the fires. I was kind of talking with Joey about this because he was saying just a couple days ago, like, oh, I feel like I need to restrict some stuff in my life, and it just kind of got me thinking about like, restriction can be really good sometimes if you're trying to channel your fire more appropriately and focus. But sometimes I feel like always focusing on the negative, like what can I take away or what can I be less inspired by, just continues to cycle that like cold structure in things, versus if we were excited about something, there's basically no amount of zips, weed, or anything that could get in between you and that thing. Yeah. To me, I think more about it is like you just need to find a fire that burns down the other ones. Like,
and this is coming from a Virgo, so it's learned wisdom.
Definitely learned wisdom. I am a queen of restriction and cutting off and all of that stuff. So, yeah, I love that. Follow your muse, follow the fires, and it's like different small things during the day. And sometimes they come to me, and life is a blessing like that, and they fall on your doorstep. But I found in my adulthood, I need to seek it out more. And I've had prolonged periods of depression because I didn't exercise that tool of seeking out inspiration that really takes no amount of time to get online, when you're able to tap into the whole world. Yeah. All it takes is me watching one video of a singer that inspires me to be like, that's what I'm doing all day today. I'm back, baby. But I can go through periods. I've gone through periods in my life where it took me 7 months to do that. And during that 7 months, I was just in this cold, dark, oh, what is me in life place, So, yeah, I think there is a beauty to being able to tap into so many people right now, especially when it's so easy to feel dead inside in this apocalyptic
I
landscape.
think sometimes.
Yeah, if you feel dead inside, it's completely natural.
Yeah, don't be alarmed. 'Tis the season.
Yeah, you got to go through the season of like this inner deadness to appreciate those moments that there is a spark. There is something that makes you excited. And we're calling the universe like, okay, where is the spark? Where is a little flicker of excitement? And then you take that little flicker and you throw tissues on it and anything that'll burn up fast.
Totally. I do think that skill of learning how to build a fire by my hands when I was sent away was one of the most helpful things I learned. It made me understand how precious fire is. It's hard. It's hard to do.
So did you learn it from one of these things, or like a?
Yeah, I had to. I carved a bow.
And
put string on it, and then I found a top rock, and you get a spindle. You carve a spindle out, and then you have a foundation, and you hold the top rock and the spindle. You got to be really physically strong to do it. I was like, one of the only girls out of the 13 because I was at the time like a professional athlete dancing all the time. But it takes a lot, and mainly it's that moment of like getting the ember into the nest and blowing it, not blowing it too hard, just enough oxygen, but not too much.
Can't start a fire without a spark.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what you're talking about with containers, I think. The containers for the fires, so they have enough oxygen to breathe, but so they don't also go out. And you guys are masters of that, and masters at, I think, thinking of how different people will sort of like ignite each other or put each other out. It's a very interesting skill set.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like you were just talking about like Joey beating himself up over, like he talked about it on Boys Club, patreon.com/churchofchill. There's 8 episodes of Boys Club, and we're getting deep on there. But Joey had a bad set, and then on the drive home, he just went full scorched earth. I hate myself, but it's
scorched earth is such a good term.
it's just fucking. It's that penchant. I think, I don't know if you guys have this, but to like masculine energy your life, like in a moment, like, you know, like, no, I'm gonna take care of this for fucking right now. I think it's why I like cleaning so much. I'm like, it's a way of like, without like crushing my creative and beating myself up and all that stuff, just be doing something that feels like it's making things a little bit better. But yeah, I get it too. I try not to beat myself up. That is a lifelong struggle. I think that anyone that is like going out on a limb is gonna be dealing with.
Well, yeah, and it's so easy. Like, it's easy to blame all your problems on zips. Like, that's such an easy thing for your mind to control. You know what I mean? You're like, I'm not doing good, and this external thing in my life can fix it. And I'm like, sometimes you do need to cut things out of your life. Like, you shouldn't totally dismiss Virgo wisdom, but it's a never-ending trip of what can I take out. Just trust me on this. And what can I restrict in my life? And a lot of times, like, all of this stuff gets override, you know, by love and like all of these other factors that we don't in our very like masculine concept of A plus B equals C in this world, like don't sort of see.
But I feel like if you take your masculine tools and they're so sharpened and applying to like, no, I got to cut this on, it eventually will, you'll meet a person and those tools will start to apply to them. And that's where you got to really realize like, people have to be the exception. You know what I mean? I need to let people in. I need to let them affect me.
Definitely.
And there's a time and a place, I think, for making big edits in your life with people. But I've actually gotten less down with that and more like things just naturally, I don't know. All the friends I have right now are perfect for my life right now.
Yeah.
And I don't have to have like a breakup with them or like if it's not aligning for some reason, it just naturally kind of sheds off.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to bring the fucking flamethrower to all aspects. It's good to have it in some aspects, but it's good to also realize like, oh, I see what I'm doing right now. That felt out of control because I just bombed on stage or bombed on a phone call or whatever, you know, and I feel out of control. I want to use these masculine tools I have to slice and dice myself and control something.
Yeah, there's like this difference between being like, and I think we've never wanted to subscribe to like, oh, someone's toxic. You know, I think there's like, can be this narrative of like, oh, they're a toxic person or this is toxic. I think ultimately you kind of want to go in and through that fire and realize, like, I think at least for us, we go in and through the fire because like we have this core value of like people are a reflection of you. So if there's someone who's triggering you, it's kind of like, let's go in and through it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that when you're not serving each other, that you maintain something like there's no reason to force life, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Force relationship, force anything.
Yeah. And we've all done it. We've all done it on each other's watches too, you know what I mean? We've all seen each other like, and it's like, oh, it's cute. You're trying to take control of something because love makes you feel out of control.
Force maintaining a relationship or force ending a relationship. There's a lot of like that kind of doesn't need force as much. Yeah,
letting it, you know, just putting out the flame entirely or letting it fucking become a wildfire that's out of control, whatever it is. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it becomes. I'm definitely guilty, obviously, of cutting too much out and cutting people out, and it's the protective mechanism, like we talked about, just from my past, and also just feeling like, oh, I can control my mood, and when I'm alone, I'm great. Mm-hmm. And I think that's when you have trauma or just anybody living the human experience, you can get to protective places in your life where you need to care for yourself and you need to rest and you need to not have the dissonance of other people's psyches around you that are different and that are ultimately going to challenge you. Yeah. But I got stuck in that, and I know a lot of sweet girls too that are stuck in it right now too, where they can't get out of a protective phase of life because of course it's easier to be alone.
Yeah.
You know, and I do think it took a couple people that were a little bit abrasive with me, which I'm so thankful for always when it happens. you being one of them. I wasn't even thinking about you when I said that. I was thinking actually about like a couple like random clients who were kind of like checking me on stuff. 'Cause yeah, life is like, I think the whole point, at least so far, it seems like, is to be in interaction with other people. It's the only way. That's the only way at least forward motion happens. Life moves, and you grow, and you learn, and you understand. And it's okay to not always be ready for that challenge. But I do pride myself on somebody that wants to be ready for that challenge and wants to like hold myself and hold space through that challenge, because the truth is, when I'm doing well, like, there's nothing you could say to fuck with me and who my person is. Like, I know who I am so strong. Like, it's really fun for me, like I just talked about this last night, to be in competitive environments, because to me that's a representation of I'm at my best self. You know, if I want to go play with as much fire as possible, like, you know, I'm doing good. When I feel like I can't, and I get to spaces where I can't handle anything, you know, or anybody, and I definitely go between those two things. But I know the times when I'm like, oh, I just want to be alone. It's not like a high vibe me, you know. It's not. It's not the highest version of Mare who needs to be alone and can't.
Someone who just needs an in-breath and just needs to chill for a
We
sec.
get to be alone when we're dead.
Yeah, you get to be alone when you're dead.
I'll sleep when I'm dead, motherfucker.
As someone who loves alone time, but
Yeah. But you guys have definitely, like, I've learned to, I don't even know, like, I was going to say I've learned to love the messiness of relationship, or just, like, come to understand the importance and how much it makes me grow. And I definitely feel like I'm less trigger happy, even with new friends that come into my life, about, like, wanting to get rid of people.
Or categorize them, you know.
Well, feeling a deeper sense of responsibility, especially since my Saturn return came, just about, like, being there for people. And not because I don't feel like when I cut people off I was necessarily like they're bad. I think I've had this real, like, I don't want you to fuck, like, with my shit. Like, it's not even like because I'm guilty of demonizing people for sure, but I don't. Even the people that I've cut off recently in the past few years, I'm like, they were good people. A lot of times it's like, I don't want to hurt you anymore. It comes from that, and I'll cut you out of my life. Yeah, it's complicated.
It's like you turn off, as someone who feels like love lights have been turned off around me. Oh my God, it's so painful when someone turns off their love light, where you just, like, can't access that part of you that made them happy. You're like, no, what?
Definitely the worst. The worst. So yeah, I'm so sorry. I have, you know, for all of my astrology nerds out there, I have Saturn in the 7th. So my whole big 30-year life lesson was like, how do you want to relate to people in a responsible way? You know, do you want to be cold and distant? What does that look like? Where does the distance exist? You know, where does the responsibility lie? Where does the gravity lie? You know, where does the constriction lie? Where are you perceiving oppression when there's none? You know, where are you implementing authority where there's none? Which is a huge thing for me always in dynamics, you know. And I want to not be that way, but that's definitely the jump off.
Yeah.
You know? That's definitely what I'm working with, and you sort of move from there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's worthwhile to even get to that place, to just every now and then check in with yourself and, like, take a sample size of, like, am I demonizing anyone right now? And why am I doing? I mean, it's always like I have qualities about myself that are reflected back at me so sharply through this person that I will project those qualities onto them and cut them off. And that's exactly what you're just compartmentalizing that part of yourself and saying, I'll deal with that later.
Right.
So it's good to go through, like, who are the people I currently hate? Like, if they come up, they make my blood boil, because that's where there's work to be done.
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy because it's it feels so nice and tidy when you do, like, say, oh yeah, here's the set of reasons that this person does not deserve to be around me anymore, and you write them off. But, like, you're writing off a part of yourself that's going to become this decrepit, haunted, fucking lost island of your soul that, like, when you do have to eventually fucking face the music, that's going to be an area in which you're basically decided to refuse to grow.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
And this is hard, especially when it comes to, like, romantic relationships.
Yeah.
Face the music and take your medicine, as you like to say to me.
Face the altar and take your fucking medicine.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same
Face
thing.
the music is not something I go saying to people, but you know what I mean? Because, like, saying that to somebody, it's like, I don't know. You're just talking to yourself.
That shirt needs to be worn more.
Oh, yeah.
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 You were saying in relationships?
In relationships, it's tough because, like, yeah, there comes a time for a lot of relationships where it's just like, it you know, it's over. It should end. And like, how do you do that without there being hurt feelings? And like, if both people weren't on the same timeline about how or why that should end, it's like, it can get very confusing, you know.
Even friendships, you know, like
especially friendships.
Yeah, like I think, and that's why, like even starting off with this, I just think it's complicated. Like I think some people are meant to leave your life. I've just been too much in that camp.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
I've just been really sparsely sold on the other theory that you need to keep anybody around for anything ever.
Yeah.
But when you move around as, you know, these are all just protective mechanisms. Like the big thing for me too is because I'm so mutable, those people are like old, just like you're saying, old personalities of mine. And when I kill old Mare and I want to become new Mare, I'm like, you knew old Mare, and like, I don't want you around.
Yeah.
Please don't remind me of who I used to be because I hate her so much.
Well, we all have like, I think it's a lot often perfect. Once I was able to embrace that like a relationship ending isn't like as tragic as like, oh, we did the work that we were supposed to do together.
Yeah, right.
Really helped me feel like, okay, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good, man.
Yeah. You haven't had a lot of crazy breakups though.
Yeah, a couple.
It doesn't matter. It's like one bad one. You know, the worst thing that's ever happened to
I don't keep in touch with pretty much any of my exes. I don't have that many, but I don't have any relationship with them.
Totally.
And I don't know, maybe some people would say that's a sign of like things being bad, but I don't know. I think I love very deeply, and when you don't share that space anymore, the idea that you maintain a friendship is kind of like the shallower level of a relationship you had, and I think you have to put a lot of work into having that be a positive relationship when you've shared love in a deep way. Yeah. And I think the more positive thing is to let each other find new reflections.
Definitely.
In relationships.
There's, what are we, 8 billion deep now?
Yeah.
We're 8 billion deep, yo. Find another one.
Yeah. Let go. Let go and let God.
Just the most people we've ever had.
I love that you said that, Cass. It's like always been my stance on breakups too. Like you should not ever be talking to your ex. There's so many people to talk to in this world.
Yeah.
Just quit doing that. Because one of you is pulling the heartstrings. And I know it's always both of you, but at the same time, like there's power that's so being sucked and siphoned and like,
especially with an ego like mine, is like I'm like don't have the biggest ego, I think is safe to say, but I want you to wish we were still together. And
that's why Cass is very fun to work with. You know, she does have that part of her.
I'm like, I gave you good loving. You're gonna remember it.
Yeah, exactly. Like the best thing you could do if you want to get back at somebody is just like live your best life.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
Just
push off of each other. Yes.
Yeah, realizing what I was hating. I had to do like meditations on like, what do I hate right now? It's never people. I've never had like, even friends that I've cut off, like I'm never mad at those.
It's oppressive
friends.
Structures.
It's artists. I get jealous. If you think I don't really get jealous. I get so jealous of success in other artists and people just like being able to be themselves without complete self-loathing, you know, drowning in self-loathing. And that's when I really had to like get my shit together 6 years ago, and I was like, I have to put out music whether I hate it or not, like whether I think it sucks or not. Like this just needs to start
the
flowing.
People you're jealous of
that's where they
that's
started.
all. That's the difference.
That's what
you know.
they did.
They actually started doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it can be really helpful to just pause on the things you don't like.
Well, jealousy.
Probably now that we're talking about this, I'm like, that is like one of the fucking like we talked about. Like you should do a desire inventory. Do a fucking hateful inventory.
Totally.
Like, what do I hate and why?
Maybe you can do a burn ritual.
Yeah, exactly.
Jealousy is like my favorite compass. Once I started utilizing it as a compass,
I
was like, what is it that I'm jealous of?
Yeah.
And like, it's like, oh, you're getting that spark of excitement, that spark of feeling in love with someone or something. It's not because it's not with me. It's because I want to inhabit that feeling. Like, I'm jealous that you're inhabiting that feeling. Not that it's not with me as much as, oh, that's an experience that I covet, you know? It's like excitement about life or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
Or a creation or being in flow like we're talking about.
Yeah. You're speaking a little bit to your Venus sign. I love it. I love astrology.
What does that mean? Like, cause
Venus and penis.
Because my Venus is in the penis sign.
Yes, and it's called crab legs.
Yeah.
Crab pinchers.
Oh, and another thing, I fucking sometimes I'm whatever. It's also like, I think learning. I mean, this is ridiculous for me to say, being in like codependent relationship or whatever. But like the idea that when you're not with someone, that it's like, or like when I'm not with you, Mare, it's like our jobs when we're not together is to have the most fun time, to honor the relationship when we're apart by honoring ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, there's no, once I realize, like, oh, we're all just reflections, we're all God, everything's God, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, well, just because I'm not with you, just because I'm not with Sean, not just because I'm not with Mare at this moment, doesn't mean I'm not with God. I know that sounds so fucking pretentious, but it's true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, you're doing yourself, your partners, and God a disservice by not having the best time, no matter who you're with.
yeah,
You know.
kind of. Yeah, like there's no, I don't want to let anyone gatekeep my good time. Do you know what I mean?
Amen. Aho, I, woo, woo.
Boop, boop. Ay, ay,
That
ay.
one deserves a little.
You can't gatekeep my good time. I might have the best time with you, but that doesn't matter because I'm going to figure it out. I will figure it out. I will figure it out, guys. I think I'm so scared of being like disempowered, like needing someone or something. So this is like you're seeing my protection mechanisms come up of like what I need to say in order to say like, if you left me, I'd be fine.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. It's really cute. She's like, I just have an art career. She's
But
like, I'd just be a famous painter. It's whatever. She's like, without him, I'd be Andy Warhol, but it's fine.
Like I think sometimes like we've talked about this before. We've talked about it before, probably not on here, but like even ascribing negative attributes to like codependence and jealousy and like.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm going to be fine if we're not together. Well, it's okay if you're not. Like, I have no problem admitting I'm codependent. I'm not going to be fine if we're not together. Like, it makes me want to be good at this. You know what I mean? If I went through just like kind of like always gassing myself up with like, dude, you're fine. You're better off alone. You're fine. Everything's cool. You don't need anyone. Like, I'm hardening this fucking shell around myself for no reason. And what I always say is like, it starts to permeate other parts of your life, you know? That's like, you hate when someone turns off the love light and like, you're like got yours on a dimmer switch and you're like, I could fucking fuck with this right now and it's all good no matter what anyone does to me. Like, no, it's not all good. It fucking doesn't feel good when people fuck with you. Like, it's okay to admit that. Like, fuck this good shit. Like, yeah, life, it's fucking hard and it sucks when people, when your journey's done with them or it's not resonating anymore or your old charms have worn off on somebody. It's like, it's devastating. It fucking sucks. We're allowed to admit that. And it sends you into the depths of the shadow realm. And a lot of people, instead of, like I said this about Trump, instead of doing the work down there and like being like, why is it like this right now? Why am I in the depths of hell over someone not being around anymore, someone treating me like this? Fucking examine what it's all about for you. Because I couldn't tell you, you know? I know for me what my triggers are, abandonment, humiliation, these kind of things, like probably jealousy. It doesn't even get tested, you know what I mean? It's such an issue, it doesn't even get tested, you know?
Yeah. And then I was walking around like the subway a couple days ago and just had one of those like mushroom download revelations where I was like, just saw everybody as a kid who just really needed love, just really needed somebody to, you know, feel like they picked them for love and and nobody in any position ever differs that in a human body. Is so interesting. Like, no matter the amount of success or art that you've made or
money,
pussy that you've had or money, like,
look at Elon Musk.
we're all kind of like equally desperate in different ways in different parts of our psyche. To get that love and validation. And you're probably right, Cass, like when you get it more from your mom and dad, there's less of like maybe a need outwardly from the world, you know, and sometimes that absence can cause it to be more like rampant, but there's, you know.
Well, I mean, Cass got it from her mom and dad, but from a young age knew she wanted like to be in relationships.
Yeah.
You know, and we just said that before we came on here. It's like we just honored all of our teenage loves. Like, for Christ's sake, we all came from like, Cass came from not as tough of a household, but there were substance abuse issues in her household. Like, she had to deal with something. Like, and an only child going through that. We dealt with what we've dealt with, which is insane. But then, like, our partners came along and our teenage years and the scariest fucking part of your life. Like, thank God those fucking people came along. And all of our partners as teenagers, for the most part, were, like, good people and showed us love. And, you know, we learned from them. We learned about ourselves. And we learned how to go through a love journey with someone and that it ends and that, you know, this and that. Like, those relationships made us who we are. And like probably second to like our parental and sibling relationships is like right there. It's like your first loves, the imprint that the first love leaves on you. Was it a positive imprint? We all had like pretty much positive experiences. When your relationship with your first love was over, you knew why. It was for very adult reasons. You know what I mean? You dealt with it like an adult. You mourned the relationship. You did. You know what I mean?
A little excessive screaming,
But,
I'm sure.
Yeah, probably. But who cares? You're a fucking kid, you know?
Yeah.
And then you got some time to be like single and like have fun and like be a kid. And like you had a great first love, and that probably
He
fucking saved your life.
Literally.
You know?
Almost killed you too, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Joseph, wherever you are.
Yeah, shout out to Kathleen. I know where she is. That's my girl.
Yeah, and see, like, I don't talk to Joseph not because Joseph wouldn't love to talk to me, but because I know I have the power in that dynamic, and there's no point in Joseph's life that I wouldn't
Oh yeah,
break his heart.
Yeah,
you know?
It's
like
you're
I
very
cut him off and I
responsible.
broke up with him out of because of him, for him.
Yeah.
You know, like I made those decisions for Joseph, and you may not believe me, but
Well, I was going to say that when we were talking about like cutting people out. Sometimes people need to cut you out, and like you come to that realization
you have to
before
trust
they
that.
do.
If someone cuts you out, you got to trust that they're
But-
doing it for you,
But
too.
what
Yeah.
if you come to the realization before they do? That's kind of what happened with your first boyfriend. That's kind of what she's saying happened with her first boyfriend. You're
I
like,
would rather, it made me feel like I'd rather get broken up with than break up with someone. It was so
After that,
painful.
yeah.
I was like,
breaking up with him, yeah.
this is the most painful thing I've ever done.
Until you've been broken up with, and you're
But
like,
yes.
I would rather break up with people every day, every moment,
But being
than have
broken
a
up
singular
with,
broken up with in my life.
being broken up with, you can cling to victimhood. You can be like, and you can get that sassy,
You can be
like,
like,
I'll
"Oh,
show
I'll
them.
show them,"
You
yeah.
know, like when you invite the void into your life, it's a whole different fucking like, whoa, what the fuck? What did I just do?
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been well practiced in that hood.
I've never been single, so I don't really, I'm just surfing the waves of consequence out here.
Yeah.
Choppy seas.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the like importance of aloneness, there like is something to that in the human experience. But I think the way that our masculine consciousness is wrapped around it is definitely like stifling.
It's
Yeah.
so much
'Cause I'm-
balance.
Yeah, it's so much balance. Because I'm so glad for the time I spent alone. And I'd be such a less cool, especially women. Like, I'd be such a less cool girl if I had a man this whole time, you know?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, there's definitely space that opens up when there's not dick involved. You know?
Oh, when I met Sean, I was like, I don't want this. Like, I need more time to figure out who I am.
Before this volcano
But
enters my
luckily,
body.
luckily, he was spaciousness enough that I feel like I found myself through and within the
Totally.
relationship. But I find, not to make this like a therapy session, but that maybe it's an only child thing. Or maybe it's that I say no to everything. Like, I have a really hard time asking for help or accepting help. Or like if someone's like, hey, can I give you a hand with that? I always ask people, can I give you a hand? And when they say, yeah, I'm psyched because I'm like, I want to serve, I want to help. And then anyone approaches with me with that energy, I'm like, no, I got it. And I don't know what that is. We don't have to fucking dive into it right now. I'm just saying, like, I'm kind of acknowledging that it's not like the healthiest energy because you got to work to get momentum, to get forward. It's like we got to collaborate, you know? And I don't know what my resistance to collaborate. Obviously I do know how to collaborate, but I do have also a resistance to collaboration that makes things more challenging, not necessarily, probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't mean to dead end this.
No, you didn't. We love it.
I think
You're
it's
sparking it
funny
up.
because like when Cass tries to do the like her masculine energy thing, like
Yeah.
this was in the first 3 minutes that we met each other. She was like, I'm never gonna be falling in love with anyone again, and I'm like she's telling this to a stranger. That's how that, and so she puts the line in the sand, crosses that line 20 minutes later when she's like off of her shift and just drinking a beer and staring at me like, fuck it, I know it's on, you know. And we've done that so many times in this relationship. She's like, here's the line, knowing she's gonna cross it.
Lines are meant to be crossed, I guess.
No, well, I mean, I think our ego does this thing, and a lot of times you can feel it in the resistance to psychedelics sometimes.
Yeah.
Our ego does this thing where it's like, here's my last stand, here's my last chance before I get fucking dosed with love and everything goes feminine chaos out of control in my life, before I get dosed with acid, before
Here are the rules.
Here are the rules, and I'm not doing it, you know, and then you're just like, oh, fuck it. And it feels so good to let go into the into just fine. Let's just see where this goes. No rules. Let's go. But
I think the basis of love is no rules, just like you talked about it being falling before. I was just thinking about that earlier when we were talking in this podcast. Like there's something essential about like the freedom of when your first love compared to your family love. Like family love usually always comes with rules, even though it's unconditional. There's a lot of rules.
Behave a certain way and you'll get my
love. And with your first love, it's conditional, but there's no rules.
Yeah.
It's like totally fun for a different reason.
Yeah.
And I think the no rules thing is like, that expansiveness, at least for me and my personality, is obviously what makes it exciting. So it's like, how deep could you go?
Mm-hmm.
There's an endlessness to it that seems not trapping. And I also like the conditional nature of it. I think we talk about unconditional love a lot as like the thing to aspire to, but like I like the conditional nature of we get to choose out of 8 billion people you want to spend your time around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have such a short time
I'm seconding
here.
on that one. I do. I like that it's not promised. That there's like
you got to be good. You got to be good and show up good.
Not just and it's the good. Isn't about being well behaved. It's about being in your truth. And if you're in your truth, someone can fall in love with who you are. And if you're not being honest with who you are, they're falling in love with some weird version of you that you're trying to project that isn't your truth. But if you're honest with who you are, then you'll attract the person and people who love you for who you are. And what would you want more than that? Is to be who you. That's what I feel like what the path is like, how do we just like strip off all these fucking pretenses so that we can be loved for who we really are, not a version or a make-up version of ourselves or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and the idea that there's something to come home to is really controversial, I think, in our current state of like the way that we think about navigating life in this dominating way where you just get to choose who you are each and every day. And I've definitely in the past decade, couple years, 5 years, really, my life is accelerated and my growth is accelerated by valuing listening and less of the I get to choose who I am and more of the I get to realize who I am. And I know that balance is different for everybody and different for the arts that you're doing. But it is it's more of the feminine side of life of like there is a home base, and we're like we were talking about with feelings versus thoughts. A lot of times when the current language of things, you think, oh, thoughts create feelings, and I totally disagree. Sometimes feelings can create thoughts. I think thoughts are kind of like a separate thing and there's a lot more influence, but feelings are like a solidified water that you can tap into, and it's much more solid than people think it is. We think about emotions like thoughts, like they're just flippant and you can run them out, and it's different. It's a reality that we kind of like totally dishonor and banish.
Well, that's why honoring what's going on in your body is probably the most transformative work you can do.
Yes.
And that's why like, talk therapy can be something you're in for your entire life and still need to go back to. But if you really have an honest conversation with your body, you can bring stuff to the surface that is open for like a new realization. And I'm like very much in that work right now, and I'm not like on the other side of it, but I'm like, because of you guys, like learning and at my own pace how to become more embodied and what that means for me and how to listen to myself and be in my body, because then I feel like through that path, my hope is that it affects every part of my life, being able to perform, being able to show up, being able to have better sex, like all these things is like a worthy pursuit I'm finding,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's so exciting to watch you and everybody else come out of their shell, and it's so silly when you zoom out a little bit how much we're in our own way.
Oh yeah.
Like how much you have to offer. And I know you come to those realizations sometimes, like you realize the deck that you're playing with and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing with this deck.
Yeah.
So I've been playing these cards.
Yeah. Well, I think
I gotta play a heavier hand every once in a while,
Yeah, I think for my makeup, my enthusiasm's very powerful. Like I'm like a natural hype man.
Oh yeah.
So if I'm enthusiastic, that's like, and I think for other people it's different stuff. I don't know if it's for everyone, that kind of stuff, but for me it's like an enthusiasm is like my muse. Like I mean that's stupid because everyone's enthusiasm is their muse, but
I get it.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, more of like a feeling based. What's creating the fire? What's stoking the fire?
Well, because there's for me, I'm maybe not the main character in my story, but like I am. But it's like different in that I like want to be. It's natural to want to be different people on the pyramid. Like the way we have our in human design. Are you a generator? Are you a manifesting generator? Are you a projector? Like manifesting generators is all enthusiasm, so that's what it is.
Yeah, I think that's why you fit into the dynamic Cass and I already had so well, because I feel like she is like the captain of our little ship, and then she finds a good spot for us, and I cast out and I pull in the fish, and she just deals with them, you know? And like it's cool because I feel like you're a fellow fisherman, like you're out there. And I'm like, okay, cool. And like Cass loves that, like, okay, you got some fish too? Let's fucking do it. Let's make a fucking meal out of this. I can handle all this. Like I want that. So I think it like, but I'm like, I like looking over and like, you know, seeing you like making stuff all the time. It really, it helps me continue to want to make stuff.
Yeah, loving two artists is like the best. And a little bit of a handful sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But more the best, like 99% the best, 1% like the worst. But it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Cass was doing some old school psychedelic eye gazing with me last night.
Yeah.
Pretty non-consensual too. Like I'm sitting there like backed against the wall, kind of like this, and Cass is sitting here just staring into my eyes, like crying and laughing at the same time.
Sorry.
It was fucking
I was like, we're having
wild.
a moment.
We were having a moment.
Come for it.
We had fun though. We were just like wrestling over there and like dancing and fucking doing weird rituals.
Mare's was the soundtrack to our life for a second, and we were just like, let's have a great time.
Yeah. But I couldn't tell if Cass was looking at me with eyes of like, Jesus, God damn, look at this ridiculous fucking person I've devoted so much time to. And I kept getting like, are you okay? Like, are we fine? Like,
well, that's part of the eye gazing is to like let the self-consciousness come to the front and like burn it off. Like the eye gazing is like
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, but it's like the most psychedelic thing you can do with or without drugs. Like it's fucking crazy, you know, just to sit there and stare and like see what you go through. And
artists, it's funny that like we put artists on a pedestal. I was just thinking about this last week and how much of a handful we are to be up close with and deal with, and the fact that like the only reason that we're able to make anything is because we're susceptible and we're sensitive, right? And we're not just sensitive, we're fragile. And I want to separate those two things because I think we talk about them as the same a lot, and they're totally different things. And they're, you know, mutually exclusive, as they say. And artists are both. And I also want to take away the, like, derogatory and negative attributes of fragile.
Yeah.
Because I think it's what, again, makes you able to create anything or come to deeper levels of understanding is letting yourself be broken down by things.
Yeah.
You know, not always having to hold a solid shape. And that means like more breaking down all the time in life, you know, and that being a value, even if you don't see it as a value in your mind, like that's how artists move, you know. We support the breakdown.
Oh yeah.
Because we know it brings us deeper understanding, you know, and we know it gets us to different levels of ourselves. So yeah, I'm sorry, but
well, when something's fragile, you got to handle it with care. So, you know, when you see that in somebody, in a fellow traveler, handle it with care. And it's good to apply that to everyone because everyone has that in them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Lots of things to get easily broken down about. And then you have to build yourself back up. And that's teaches you all kinds of different things about yourself, too. And, you know. Hence the artist's different eras and versions of yourself and the propensities to recreate. But yeah, everyone's an artist, but not everyone's as crazy or addicted to the breakdown or whatever. And I think it's important that they're not, you know what I mean? Because the other thing is like you don't want a society full of artists. Holy shit, we need things built and stuff. Like we need people that are about the build up and the solid and the keeping it together. But we also obviously need the other. And we need to value each other more, too.
Well, it's crazy that even though now we're 8 billion strong, that the universe just keeps pumping out the best balance that you could possibly have. It's really, and it's crazy when things get out of balance that it just corrects itself. There's no way this billionaire nonsense can keep going on. It'll correct itself. It has in the past. You know, look back at all the revolutions. Like, it just corrects itself.
Even if the correction's bigger than us.
Yeah.
You know, you got to trust that too.
Oh, yeah. Even if it's got to get worse before it gets better. You gotta,
even if it means humans don't exist anymore. Can you imagine such a pleasant, lovely Earth?
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh, well, I'm so nervous after watching this Graham Hancock thing. I'm just like, oh, hold on loosely, hold on tightly. I don't know.
Yeah. We have had to rebuild civilization before. Like right now, we're living at the peak of something. It's definitely meant to crumble again. It's kind of it's been the way of this planet.
The breakdown.
Yeah,
Us Neptune worshippers take over eventually.
Just the extinction level event happening on a personal and profound level, and happening on the biggest levels you can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. I have delusions that I can survive major natural disasters.
Oh yeah, it's a grand delusion that I think a lot.
I
of us
have it,
share.
and then I have a day like yesterday where I have allergies, and I'm like,
I'm the first to go.
yeah, it's like
I'm like, I could swim through anything.
Yeah.
Lava.
Bring it.
That's it. And I don't. That kind of death kind of sounds nice. Anyway, it's like if a comet that feels like it's probably instantaneous comet hitting.
For some people. For some. Yeah.
Depends where you're at.
Depends where you're at. Then there's those that like survive that for 6 months.
You're eating your children.
You're eating your children.
Yeah. It can get really dark.
Oh yeah. It's apparently around the winter, what is it?
Solstice.
The winter solstice we're going to be right in the pocket when we're due for another
well, that's where the sky
level
was when there was
catastrophe.
potentially a cataclysmic event in like 12,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like something's going to go down this fall, but I don't know what it is.
Keep an eye out for the serpents in the sky.
Yeah.
And then just meditate on having a good death and not holding on, or just let go.
Mm-hmm. All's well that ends well.
Yeah. And if you feel uncomfortable about it, just go read NDEs. They make you feel better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Even the scary ones.
Yeah. The scary ones are just a reflection of where that person's psyche was in that moment that death came ripping.
They're like 0.2% of them.
Oh, really?
99%, like 90. It may be 98. I think it's maybe even 99 are positive experiences that people have.
Oh, yeah.
Especially since they made it back.
It's very rare, yeah, that people have negative ones.
Yeah.
They're brought to the underworld. But I do think that's fascinating. It's usually on like meth. And you think you're probably just meeting the meth god. I told you guys when I died on ketamine, I was in a battle with what I conceived to be the ketamine demon.
I think I've fought that fight.
Yeah.
I didn't perceive it as that,
Yeah. Yeah. It was a fun visual little thing that my brain took me through.
I have to pee. Do you guys want to wrap it up? Or
Yeah,
you
this was a
a
damn fucking pleasure. Thanks for doing it, y'all. Thank you, Cass.
This was a pleasure. I love you guys. I love hanging out.
I love you.
I love hanging out with you guys. Thanks for joining us on this
love
wild
you guys.
adventure of us
Yeah.
figuring out a lot of nothing, but something in the meanwhile.
Definitely a little nothing.
Join our Patreon and join the party. It's patreon.com/churchofchill. Mare also has a Patreon. It's linked in the description of this episode.
I have a YouTube.
And a YouTube listening
Yeah, my
to Spirit.
Patreon is no more. I'm just YouTubing. I'm
okay.
doing everything for free.
Okay. Word up.
Word up.
Yeah, the oracles are free. They're fun, though.
Yeah.
I'll eventually do some lives and stuff like that.
Yeah, we will too, especially now that we got remonetized.
But I'm doing shorts like a couple times a week. Those are fun readings to tap into. I try and keep them fun and funny. And then I do 30-minute longer ones on YouTube for each zodiac for each season.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun to look forward to.
And I don't know if you saw it, but we are sponsoring, giving away a couple of your readings, like we talked about,
that'd be
or
amazing.
one or two of them.
Yeah, in the Discord,
whatever,
you
we'll
can win a
figure it out.
reading with Mare.
Well,
and,
no, it's too late. We are picking the person who won, but
congratulations to
whoever it is that we pick out of the hat. But if you weren't a lucky winner, highly recommend it. Like, I really do believe that getting in touch with kind of your stars can give you like a new lease on life and kind of like a working in harmony with your natural inclinations.
Just talking to Mare on the phone will give you a new lease on life, even if she didn't get into astrology. It's worth it. It's fucking awesome.
Totally.
Yeah, just like when you look up at the stars and you get reminded that you're a part of a bigger picture. I think astrology is just a deeper meditation on that, and it can place you in a story that holds you a little bit firmer than the chaos that you're perceiving.
Yeah.
SoundCloud, Mare the Artist.
Hell yeah.
I'm putting out music, so you should listen to it.
Definitely.
Let me know what you think about it. Tell me if you hate it. Tell me which parts you liked. Tell me if you didn't like any of it.
Seek out her new banger called Mass.
Yeah, it's called Mass.
Check that one out.
Yeah. And
I just want to say, I think that our Discord community is an antidote to seasonal depression. If there could be one through a computer, it's that. And there's plenty of like-minded folks there that exchange all kinds of beautiful sacred knowledge.
Yeah, and if you have something to give to someone who might be lonely and just wanting to like look and not ready to share, like don't hold back your art or your.
And if for some reason you can't throw us $1 or $2 a month through patreon.com/churchofchill, send us a little DM and we'll hook you up with the Discord link, because it's good to just know that there's other like-minded people out there.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm trying to get on there more.
Yeah, for sure. We need you.
Yeah.
It's like a beautiful bonfire on a cold night, you know.
Yeah.
You're just like cold and like, oh, I just need something. That's
and I want to encourage people that are on there to share their stuff, because the release of sharing, even if you don't like what you share immediately afterwards, is very profound beyond language can express. So.
Yeah, and it's not about like the reaction. Like it's nice when someone hits a nice emoji or whatever, but it's like just like moving the energy.
Yes, exactly. Just moving the energy. You'll feel better about yourself. I'm projecting, but if you writhe in jealousy like me, you'll feel better about yourself.
Thanks, y'all. Peace, love, and magic.